Yo, welcome back to another episode of A Shot of Rose. Up this week, we go over some clips from the Hardly Initiated podcast, and we talk about a book written by a guest they had on their show, The Q Pill. Let's go ahead and get it. Yo, welcome back. It is your boy, Mr. Imperator Rose. How is everybody doing this week? I myself am tired like every weekend because for some reason, everybody decided that they wanted to have their birthday during these past 2 months. And I've been ripping and running every single weekend to make it to all these birthdays. It has been nothing short of exhausting. Hopefully y'all have had a better weekend. I just want a weekend where I get to sit down and chill and not have to do all this ripping and running. Can't no brother ask for me anymore. Also, shout out to whoever run the lottery. I really ain't fucking with you, but shout out to you, man, because I'm mad jealous, man. But in which case, if you did win it, man, kudos to you. I hope you live it up, man. But it's a lot of us that's out here mad at you. Anybody else play the lottery? I don't even play the lottery, but for some reason I just felt compelled to because it's at 1.2 billion. And who's not gonna take a shot at 1.2 billion? Even DJ Khaled and some other goofy ass rich nigga decided to try. So in which case, why not me? All right, y'all. So I got a dope episode set up. Unfortunately, I ain't get to the Black Twitter this week, man. Boys is ripping and running. I ain't really do a good job prepping or whatever, but I got y'all next weekend. I'm only going to do the Black Twitter on Mondays, on my episodes for Monday, because I'm trying to do that shit every week, you know what I'm saying? Because I got another episode that I'm going to drop on Thursday. But trying to do that, you know what I'm saying, for every episode gets a little taxing. So every Monday, I'm going to drop the Black Twitter, the best tweets from Black Twitter, but it's not going to happen today. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into our topic here. So I was scrolling down my timeline on Instagram and I seen a clip posted to the Shade Room that was from the Hardly Initiated podcast. Now, personally speaking, every time I've seen a clip from this podcast, it's always been what I would consider goofy shit, and I just don't really rock with it. So I decided after watching this clip, I was all like, yo, that's pretty interesting. You know what I'm saying? That's a different perspective. Most of the time, they're usually posting goofy shit. So I decided to give it the Kavian Samuels treatment, and I'd watched the whole episode to really see what it was about. Now, in full disclosure, man, I had the tendency to get caught up into the social media clips and just do what's called, I guess you could say I judge a book by its cover before actually reading the book. You get a clip, you watch it, you make an impersonation off of it, and you just kind of run with that rather than watching the entire thing and then forming your own opinion. Now, with that being said, I done said a lot about these guys, or at least the podcast, or at least clips from their podcast, but I must say that after watching this episode, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, and it kind of, you know, I can see kind of where these guys are going, you know what I'm saying? They're not entirely alpha people like I thought they were, you know what I'm saying? Alpha men like I thought they were. Still kind of on some goofy stuff, but for the most part, you know what I'm saying, I can kind of get jiggy with what they're talking about. Now, again, life is all about whether or not you agree or disagree with people. It's about balance, right? So sometimes you're going to agree with what people say, and majority of the time you may agree with what that person said, but then every now and then you're not going to agree with them. And that's what being objective about, and that's what life is all about, right? Like, you're not going to totally agree with everyone on every single thing, but in which case, I watched the whole episode, and I got to say, I'm going to give these guys a little bit of credit. They talking a little bit more about stuff that, you know what I'm saying, is actually relevant, and they actually have a good purpose for what they're trying to do. I just think they're kind of going about it in a slightly goofy way, but even with that being said, man, let's go ahead and get into it. So they had this guy on the podcast that I watched the episode. The gentleman's name is Jaquan Davis. Apparently he's gone viral before. Maybe I've seen one of his clips, maybe I haven't. I don't really know. But supposedly he's been on the Shade Room, you know what I'm saying, Ball Alert. He's gone famous on like TikTok. He considers himself a behavioral scientist. He has a degree in psychology, and he wrote a book called The Q Pill. So here it is right here. It's called The Q Pill, written by Jaquan Davis. You can get this joker on Amazon. It's for $9.99. I think if you get like the Kindle version, you can get it for like $7.99 or some shit like that. But here it is, y'all. It's called The Q Pill, An Overdose of Reality, The Remedy for a Cold World, written by Jaquan Davis. So it's got 7 chapters, total of 69 pages altogether, maybe a little bit longer. I mean, at least the book part, the reading part of the book is 69 pages. Pretty short book. He's got a prologue. Let's go ahead and read over his prologue here real quick, just so that we can get an idea of like what the book is about before we get into the clips that I've seen from the podcast, and you can kind of get an idea of this type of guy that he is. So the prologue says that over the past decade, I've sat back and I've observed the calculated approaches that many Western societies have taken in their desperate attempts to create idealistic domains. Egalitarians and utopias where equality of outcome is the desired standard. However, my fundamental understanding of human nature, human behavior, and human history has shown me that this is an unachievable feat. Why? because due to a plethora of internal factors and variables within a sovereign individual known as man, as well as a myriad of external factors and variables that are beyond man's control, such as the thoughts, values, feelings, and actions of others. I realized that this cohort of factors and variables contribute to a significant variance across and amongst populations in skill, intelligence, competence, and desirabilities, and ultimately diverse outcomes in every facet of human life. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. This book was written based on the observational and scientifically valid phenomena that have existed within human nature since the dawn of humanity. And as an independent behavioral scientist, certified relationship coach, and an intellectual mind who holds a degree in the field of psychology or the science of human behavior, having studied for nearly a decade, I decided it's time I put my knowledge and expertise on display as I analyze and assess and highlight the faulty perceptions of the human brain, the repugnant realities of human nature, and how ineffectual mankind will ultimately be in its attempt at creating this grand humanitarian utopia it aspires to create. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man, this is a struggle because it's so many grammatical errors in this just a little bit that I've been reading. It's actually been hard for me to just read across this shit. First off, this man is using a semicolon like every 5 fucking seconds, and I actually had an English 1 professor that told us that like if you put a semicolon in your paper, she was gonna give us a 0 because you didn't know how to write. Okay, that's literally what she told us. She was like, they did not teach you how to write in high school. If you put a semicolon in your paper, I'm going to give you a 0. She told us, do not do that shit. She said that if you were lucky, you would be blessed to get a B in my class. I got a B. All right. With that being said, it says, all while offering insight on a more effective, disciplined, and realistic approach in navigating, adapting to, and evolving oneself in this era of repulsive sensitivity and egregious political turbulence. The Q Pill is my personally constructed philosophy predicated on biological and psychological realities that are explained in my own words, semicolon, through my professional psychoanalytical lens, semicolon, based on thousands of observations, interactions, and social experiments with human beings, another semicolon, as well as from my mental health and relationship coaching clientele, personal experiences, and relationships. God, this is a struggle, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you find yourself disliking this psychologically based philosophical self-help book, then chances are you're probably the typical smooth-brained, overly sensitive, leftist, feminist, postmodernist, or internet troll, semicolon, who lacks logic, objectivity, critical thinking, and reasoning skills. And if this is indeed you, I would recommend putting this book down and scheduling a therapy session, semicolon, because this book will not improve the cognitive deficits you severely suffer from, semicolon, nor will leaving hateful reviews elicit feelings of distrust, of disgust and mistrust within my triple-digit fan base who happen to enjoy, respect, and admire my perspective on life. Enjoy the read. Okay, so you can already see what kind of person we're dealing with here. But in which case, either way, I watched the entire episode. Dude is kind of an asshole, but at the same time, you know, he had unique perspectives on certain things. So in which case, we're going to get into some of those clips. But I must say again, I owe these guys an apology. I thought they were like your typical super alpha male, fuck all bitches, we hate hoes. You know what I'm saying? Like is boys over everything, get money, fuck these hoes, and you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna live my life the way I want to. Honestly, I'm giving these guys a little bit more credit, at least the two co-hosts, because again, man, I think they have a good purpose. I think they're going about it the wrong way. I disagree with them to a certain extent. But at the same time, man, you know what I'm saying? Life is all about having unique and different perspectives. And so in which case, I can appreciate anyone that has a different perspective that isn't being technically an asshole about it. So there's that. All right, let's go ahead and get into this first clip here. We're going to watch it and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Yo, first of all, they're going to hate your ass for talking about their ancestors because he just... Listen, one thing we're not allowed to do in society is hold our heroes accountable, right? So like, we are not allowed to do that. We are not allowed to talk about where Martin Luther King made a mistake.
Yep.
We are not allowed to talk about where Frederick Douglass messed up, right? We are not, when we don't even, our minds are so anti-hold our heroes accountable that we really don't even when we tell their stories, it's all in heroism. It's not, they could have done better here. Mm-hmm. They could have done better there. And I think that's also a big problem because we have to be, I think that's a part of being objective.
It is.
Being objective is being objective. Is scrutiny even to like our parents. Like looking at your mother and father, and yes, our mother and fathers, they had greatness in them. They had love and they had these really good qualities, but they also had places that they messed up. And if the reason it's dangerous not to be objective in this way is because if you don't see where they messed up, you will fuck around and perpetuate the same things and make the same mistakes that they've made.
Okay, so again, like I said, pretty decent guys, making good conversation. So I agree to a certain extent, right? People do get really sensitive when it comes to talking about like heroes and different things like that. And even when talking about parents and stuff, and he makes a very valid point, man. Like if you can't be objective, and if you can't look at someone and say, yo, this is where a person potentially made mistakes or could have did better, then you are more likely to make those same mistakes. With that being said though, my only issue is like, if you're going to critique or quote unquote have an issue with the way potentially that like our heroes or whatever didn't do something the way that you think it should have been done, you know what I'm saying? Like you need to be doing as much work, if not more than them, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a difference between seeing the way that they did things and being like, well, here's how we're going to do it because I think we can improve on this. Martin Luther King them did it this way, but here's how we're going to do this a little bit better. It's one thing to say that, then for you to come out and be, you know, saying disrespectful in the way that they handle things and say, well, no, Martin Luther King was stupid in the way they did this. See, the problem is a lot of times is it's all about how you say and convey things, right? Like you can come out and you can say, yo, Martin Luther King them did it this way, but I don't agree with that because of this. And that's you being respectful and acknowledging the fact that like, yo, these heroes paved the way for us to be able to do what it is that we need to do. But here's my take on it because I think that we can improve this way. You know what I'm saying? But when people come out and a lot of times when people come out and they say things about quote unquote our heroes and different things like that, like they're being overly critical and disrespectful of the way in which they handle things. And so that's where the message gets lost, right? Like if you don't know how to say things, if you know how to say things respectfully, then in which case, you know, people aren't going to accept or absorb what it is that you were trying to say. So that's really the problem. You know what I'm saying? And you got this culture of people, you know, saying, well, I'm just keeping it real. Now, motherfucker, you being disrespectful. So say that shit in a respectful way and people will then absorb that shit. But let's go ahead and get into this next clip here because, you know, again, this clip here is more in line with kind of the way I wanted to go. So that way I can get y'all to see their perspective as far as like being an alpha male and like not so much an alpha male, or they call them alpha and beta. I'll be forgetting sometimes like what they even call like niggas that ain't them. So if you either alpha male or you are beta. So in the book that Jaquan Davis wrote or whatever, the Q pill, he refers to it as like red pill, blue pill. Red pill being like, you know what I'm saying, solid in your foundation, being more logical, not letting emotions sway you, quote unquote being alpha. And then blue pill, where everything is just sunshine and rainbow, shit should just be fair, shit should be perfect. And you know, kind of like the Matrix shit, you know what I'm saying? Red pill, you come down a rabbit hole, you know what I'm saying? You climb out the rabbit hole, you get to see the world for what it is. Blue pill, you stay in this exhausting sleep where like everything is just picture perfect and nothing is wrong and the whole world is great. And in which case, that's kind of the thing here, right? And then he titles his book the Q pill being, you know what I'm saying, like waking up out of reality. Hey, this is the real world. This is how shit's supposed to be. Just to give y'all an idea of like the clips that we're going to be watching. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
Let me ask you, so even that statement is, I think, something that people are going to be highly offended by. Why can women be very critical and direct about what they want in terms of verbal communication, right? I don't want a broke nigga. I don't want a weak nigga. I don't want an ugly nigga.
Because they get very objective. Like when it comes to evaluating men, all of a sudden they get logical.
They get very logical.
Oh no, broke? Yeah. No, that won't work.
Not just logical and expressive.
So
now, why can't men have that same level of discrimination in their speech when they're speaking about women?
Because every woman believes she deserves love. Every woman believes she deserves love, and she believes that she deserves the type of love from the type of man that she believes she deserves it from. And when she finds out that the type of men that she don't like her, it's too much to bear. Like I said, listen to this. Women like what is advantageous or beneficial to them.
Okay, so this is the clip that I watched that I saw on the Shade Room with a little bit more. Mainly the end part was what I saw on Instagram or whatever. Here's the thing, man. See, my problem is, and the reason as to why I write off a lot of these clips that I see, or like I really just don't take a lot of it to heart, or it vexes me from a logical standpoint, is because they say shit that really applies to both parties. Nobody dates anybody that isn't advantageous to them. You know what I'm saying? So the mindset of an alpha male is they don't need anybody because they can get anything on their own, right? And so in which case, these niggas see themselves as the cream of the crop. So it's all like, yo, what one woman won't do, like another woman will do, right? So that's how they see shit. So they don't never see women as being advantageous to them because again, they can always just go get another one. But it's kind of like the same thing that women go through as well, right? Because again, women, as he's trying to say, like, women date based off of, you know, saying what's advantageous to them. The issue being is that, you know, they go through the same process, right? Like, what you won't do, another man will do, right? So dating in general is all about what advantages or how do you benefit my life in a better way in order for me, you know what I'm saying, to reap the rewards of having you in my life, right? Because you gotta guard your energy and your time as being precious. So like, if I'm putting time and energy into you, I need to be getting some advantage from it, because again, I could be giving this time and energy to somebody else who is going to give me that same energy, who's going to reciprocate exactly what I'm giving to them. So the issue isn't all the time of whether or not, you know what I'm saying, finding what's advantageous to women. That's just the very nature of dating in general. You know what I'm saying? So it's like sometimes when they be making these arguments, I know it sounds good to these niggas in their head, but when you were to apply it across the board, it's the exact same thing. And that's my issue with these guys, right? Like, whatever they say, you can apply that shit from a woman's perspective as well. But see, they can only see it from the mindset of an alpha male, because they constantly think they're like, yo, I'm the cream of the crop. They need to be coming trying to get me. Well, you know what I'm saying? Women think that same shit. So like, who's right and who's wrong? Okay, all right, let's watch this next clip. It's really short. We'll come back and we'll talk about it.
The thing about that is women actually love that. Like, when you treat a woman like a human being, they love that. But when you objectify women, right, and when you have this single goal of fucking women, then you are willing to even sacrifice your moral code to get that shit done, like to get that executed. Yeah. And women can sense that. That's when you're too thirsty. That's when you're too thirsty.
I don't know if they're aware of this, but there's actually a terminology for those guys. They're called nice guys. Nice guys are guys who like made up thing in their head. They're like guys that really treat women well and don't understand why women don't like them. But in reality, they're actually just super horny, fucking ignorant ass niggas that really don't know how to talk to a woman or treat a woman right. You know what I'm saying? And have this weird obsession with like being nice and don't understand why women don't care for them. And it's because like women can see through your bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be even necessarily like a highly intelligent person to know when someone is bullshitting, you know? And that's the issue. Like, if you're not being real, like, people can pick up on that shit real fast. Don't get me wrong, you can fool some people, but a lot of people who are well-grounded can see through bullshit. So, you know, when you coming in pretending to be nice, pretend to be a person you're not, they're going to see times when like you're not actually being that person. They're going to pick up on the real you and see that like, yo, you're just pretending like this to get in my draws. Now, don't get me wrong, for millennia, men have been getting away with it. And I guess you could say I've been fairly successful at it, but for the most part, you know what I'm saying, like, women can see through that shit, right? So like, now you up here thirsty because like you doing all of this shit when they know that like you're only doing this and going above and beyond the Call of Duty and acting extra and not really being an authentic you, and you know what I'm saying, just worshiping the ground they walk on because like you're trying to get in their draws. Once you get the draws, they're gonna see the real you, and then boom, like they done been through this time and time again. Like, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we refer to these niggas as. They consider nice guys. Not really nice, more like fucking ignorant ass niggas. All right, so this next clip, it's a little long. We're gonna go ahead and watch it, but I think they actually define a lot of what the book is kind of about. You know what I'm saying? I do think that they provide some valid points in this. We're gonna watch this whole thing. I'm not gonna interrupt it. Watch it all the way through, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna give you my opinion on it.
So it sounds like this objectivity allows you to be in a more balanced place.
It does. It does.
Wow.
And that's essentially, and that's the goal. You want to be balanced. So you want to understand, and that's what the red pill is. Being aware of female nature. You want to understand and be aware of what she's capable of and what makes her tick and what could potentially happen between you, good or bad, and not hold it over her head if it does transpire. That's what it is.
That's a fucking bar right there.
God damn it. The
That's a
fucking
fucking
mic is steaming right now.
Yeah.
Let the fucking mic breathe real quick because it's steaming right now. My
Yeah.
dog is dropping some hot fire right now. Man, this is, I think that was a beautiful way to understand, because as men, we have to have this balance and we need to know what that looks like. And it sounds like it. I know you're not going to like this phrase, but I think you have to, in some ways, you kind of have to like, lose yourself in the moment. Like,
no, you do. I agree.
Like let the moment flow, be absolutely present.
Otherwise,
and then that's what you let the emotion, because that's what it is. Because see, the thing about the feminine essence and that aspect of women is they're very fluid, they're flowy. And men, we're structured, we're the foundation, we're the logic aspect of it. But in order for us to have that balance, we have to also know when to flow. We got to also know when to move and let ourselves go with that. And that's how we can grow our love for the woman. And then you got to know when to stop the flow, right?
Yes, because if we don't, we become just like them when it comes to insecurity. Think about it. A woman is dating a man who's in red pill rage. All he's concerned about, he becomes insecure. He worried about.
He's on edge 24/7.
He's on edge 24/7. So you can't even relax. You can't allow yourself to feel and love this woman and appreciate this woman because you already overgeneralized and classify her as something that you don't even know.
It's so crazy to me because I find that most men are either or. They either red pill as a fuck, right? Where they always on edge, bitches ain't shit, and they always gonna try to get over on you, and this how you should treat them, right? Or they're on the complete opposite spectrum, which is super fucking.
But see, that's
pill.
what. But
Okay, so as you can see, I've seen clips from these guys where I was all like, yo, this is some ignorant ass shit. But I gotta admit, man, this is I feel like, I think the guy's name is Trayshawn, the guy that's like wearing the leather jacket in that clip. Man, I feel like he's explaining that shit like eloquently, man. Like honestly, like I agree with that shit. Like as a man, you have to be the foundation of the family. You gotta be the foundation in a relationship. You got the wife and the kids, they look to you, you know what I'm saying? You're the head of the household, you gotta be that. But at the same time, as a man, like, and this has been my entire issues with like alpha males, and that's why I'm saying like I'm giving these guys some credit because like they're not speaking in terms of like the way your typical alpha male is. Like they explain that shit like they call it like, you know, super red pill, you know what I'm saying? Or like you can even take, like we do that shit in modern day now, like with Red Wing and red, you know, conservatives and like liberals, you know what I'm saying? You like super right or you like super left, you know what I'm saying? Super red or like super blue. Like it seems like we're always in this constant battle to somebody to either be the most egregious, and like the people that are on the internet are the people who are the most as far to the side that they're trying to get to, clashing head on, and they're the ones doing the argument, and there's not enough of us in the middle that have proper balance to be able to explain everything. So I got to give those guys a lot of credit on that. With that being said though, my thing is that oh boy hit it right on the head. You know what I'm saying? The other guy with the beard, I mean, he's explaining it perfectly, right? Like the thing about most guys is there aren't enough of us that like have proper balance and kind of understand, like, you know what I'm saying, when to be quote unquote, I guess, alpha, or when quote unquote to, you know what I'm saying, allow yourself to feel empathy and understand women and be there emotionally, you know what I'm saying? So you either got one type of guy who's been hurt, he's overly sensitive now, so in which case bitches ain't shit and fuck all these hoes, and then you got another guy who's like a super fucking panderer, you know, and you talking like they mentioned him in the episode, what's the dude name that used to do all the whole 5 ways to tell, you know what I'm saying, he ain't shit, and you know he did like fucking 300 videos over that shit. Oh, Derek Jackson, that guy, he's like super pandering and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like he ain't really trying to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the negative side effects, not negative side effects, but like the negative aspect of like, you know, in relationships and like how, you know, how men feel, and you know what I'm saying, giving the man perspective of certain things. And that's why like certain podcasts like Hardly Initiated, there's another one called Crew Season, I can appreciate their perspective sometimes because it's all about giving the man's perspective from the relationship, because like we deal with shit too, you know what I'm saying? We ain't any different than y'all, you know what I'm saying? You're supposed to come into our life to make our life better. If all we're doing is catering to you, then like what are we getting from it? And so that's where I guess the whole conversation of what you bring to the table came out, although I still think that's some goofy shit. But I mean, at least it makes it a little bit more clear as to why like men are like asking that question. But again, right, like the problem is that there is no market for what I call real niggas, and that's what I consider myself, you know what I'm saying? Call me, you know, arrogant or whatever, but that's what I consider myself. Okay, like I'm a man's man, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like I love my wife to death. I adore her to death. I think the world of her, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like I'ma handle shit. So when shit need to get done, my wife got on me yesterday, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you need to get the fan put up. You need to get these blinds or whatever put up, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I went into the room and I got that shit done, you know? Because like as a man, it's my job to provide, it's my job to do certain things. And just in general, right? Like that's just the way that I feel. But at the same time, like I said, I adore her, you know what I'm saying? I love spending time with my kids. It's a perfect balance that I feel like of masculinity, you know what I'm saying, while also at the same time having a ton of empathy for the people around me, because I do love and I do care and I adore them to death. And the problem is we don't have, there's no market for it. Like I said, like there's no market, there's no podcast out here that is blowing up of, you know what I'm saying, men like that, you know, and that was the entire purpose of my podcast. My podcast was to bring real conversations from real people that I know in life that, you know, are thriving in great relationships, you know what I'm saying, who are men, but at the same time, they have a shit ton of empathy and love their family. And that's what my entire podcast was based off of. And I'm gonna do that shit, right? And I'm not ever gonna bring ignorant conversations or, you know what I'm saying, different things like that, or post ignorant clips. You know, I may repost my response to somebody I have on the pod that may be saying something ignorant, but it's never gonna be the clip of that and me just agreeing with it just to go viral. And I feel like sometimes that's kind of the case of what a lot of these guys do, because again, this episode here, again, I don't agree with them entirely, right? But like, they're making a lot of sense. But it's like some of the other clips, it's all like, bro, what the fuck are y'all talking about? But we're gonna go ahead and run through this last clip. This right here, I think was really dope, man. I can't lie to you. I definitely fucks with the way that he says this shit, and I totally agree with him. So let's go ahead and run that, and we're gonna come back and finish this out.
See, that's when I think of that balance at its highest level. That's what I personally define as divine masculine. I think like you have to, it's this balance that you have where you're able to still be able to grow and be efficient and be productive to the society and help build and groom a logically law-based society, right? Because laws are these unmoving things that should not be moving with people's emotions and opinions.
And that's what they're
that
doing
come.
currently.
You got to be a fucking rock. Right? The masculine needs to be a rock. And then yet still, we still have to have and be able to show compassion, love, and empathy, and these other aspects that we need to be able to raise a healthy, even generation. When it comes to raising children, you got to be able to express that and input that into the next generation. We're raising daughters, we're raising sons. And that empathy allows us to, you know, like you said, have that morality to it.
See what I'm saying? Not too goofy, man. But if you were to see like a lot of the clips that these guys have like put out that have gone viral, you may have an entirely different opinion of them. But honestly, man, I couldn't have said that shit any better. Like if I wanted to define like what I feel like, you know what I'm saying, is who I am or what a man needs to be, that's exactly what I would say. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to be a rock. You need to be someone that is able to assess situations. You put facts over feelings. Somebody in a relationship has to be the person that remains grounded. And a lot of times that has to be the man. Again, I ain't trying to say how women's supposed to feel, but my not psychology, but my philosophy teacher once said that the difference between men and women is that men want to fix the problem and women want to tell you how they feel when it comes to interpersonal issues in the relationship. So in which case, that's the thing, right? Like a lot of times the men has to be grounded because the women do at times, I should say at times, but women a lot of times are the ones who are, you know what I'm saying, the ones reacting emotionally. As men, you know, a lot of times shit don't really affect us, right? But also we're raised to kind of like not feel and just kind of look at everything as being like, oh, well, fuck it, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Or we only look at shit as how, this is how I want to fix it. You know what I'm saying? However it needs to get fixed, I just want to get over it. But the woman wants to talk about it and express it and then, you know what I'm saying, tell you how they feel. And a lot of times if niggas would just learn to listen, you can fix a lot of problems in your own relationships, but that ain't the issue. You know, that's not the way that they want to fix it. They want to fix it, you know, what should I do or what needs to happen, rather than hearing the woman out and then having a conversation afterwards. But with that being said, again, like I said, I couldn't have said that shit any better, man. He called it divine masculine, you know what I'm saying? That's a cool term, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But just in general, man, that's what, to me, being a man is. Being a man is about, yo, you grow up, you want to have a family, you take care of that family, you know what I'm saying? You be the rock, you be the person in charge who's taking care of shit, the person that's responsible for everything. But at the same time, man, like you need to breathe like empathy and love and compassion and all that shit into your children, man. We need to quit this concept of like, yo, niggas ain't supposed to cry, young boys ain't supposed to cry. No, bro, like crying is a proper response to some things, right? So no, they shouldn't be crying because they didn't get their way. Or they shouldn't be crying because, you know, saying they feelings were necessary, right? But like, yo, if someone passes away, like, yo, yeah, sure, you should cry because missing someone is crying is a normal response for that. You know what I'm saying? Losing somebody, crying is always going to be a proper response. So that's the things that like I'm teaching my daughter now. Even as, you know, she's about to be 3 years old, it's like she be crying and I'll be like, yo, no, that ain't the proper response for that. You know what I'm saying? Like if something happens and you hurt yourself and the pain is unbearable, sure, crying is a proper response. But like you shouldn't just be crying because you can't get your way. So again, not to get too off topic, but I just wanted to talk about them real quick because again, that's another reason as to why I wasn't all that prepared, because as I watched the episode, I was all like, yo, I'm actually really starting to see these guys a little bit better, because at the time, before I watched it, I was all like, man, these niggas ignorant. But when I saw the clip, I was all like, well, that's a unique perspective. And this is the first time I've seen some shit from these guys that ain't all that ignorant. So let me go look this episode up. It was actually 2 hours. I didn't know the shit was gonna be that long, but I wanted to watch the whole thing so I can give an entire perspective. And these were the best sound bites that like I kind of seen from it that like I really want to talk about. Now, don't get me wrong, they do have like some shit that I consider goofy in there, but again, you ain't always got to agree with people. But after hearing the reason as to why they started Hurley Initiated and like kind of like what they're trying to do, I got a better understanding of who they are as people. And I don't entirely agree with them, you know what I'm saying? But I do think they're doing some dope shit. So in which case, shout out to those guys. Same thing happened with Kevin Samuels. I used to think Kevin Samuels was just super ignorant shit. But honestly, watching this show, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it definitely was off a little bit, you know, it was definitely was off a lot of times, but at the same time, he would say some real shit. And that's really what these niggas is all about. It's about getting back to being real, because we're in a world now where everybody do want everything just to be, you know, saying rainbows and, you know, saying sunshine all the time, right? And sometimes you gotta look at the world for what it is, okay? Like, the world is hard, you know what I'm saying? Like, the 1% of the 1%ers get to ride through life, their children get to ride through life all easy and shit. But your job is to bob and weave throughout life, you know what I'm saying? Life is gonna throw you a shit ton of punches. You gotta bob and weave and you gotta punch back and get knocked down 7, get up 8. And that's the reality of the world. And if you see the world any differently than that, you're gonna have a very hard life, because life ain't fair. Life is all about rolling with the punches. It ain't about how many times you hit, it's about how many times you can get back up. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, man. It's been real. Do me a favor though, before you leave, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, man. Share this with somebody, man. Leave a comment, whatever you can do. All that helps with growing the helps with the algorithm, help growing the brand. I would really appreciate it. Shout out to y'all for doing that though. With that being said, I actually am gonna get up out of here. It's your boy, Mr. Imperator Rose. Till next time.